So now we just want to take some time. Dave and I had kind of been thinking through what we wanted to go over this month. And something I think we hear a lot from group leaders is just this idea of wanting to make sure we're inviting people to our groups. I know sometimes, we put it on the group page for group signups and you don't get a ton of people signed up. And although it is not all about numbers, definitely not, we just want to talk to you guys a little bit about the importance of inviting people. And when Dave and I were talking about this right away, we were like, Chris and Megan Martin are amazing at this. And I might be a little biased because they are my group leaders. So we just have a few questions we're going to talk through with them. Hopefully it's encouraging and helpful for you guys. Yeah. You guys have anything before we get started? Okay, awesome. So first question, just kind of general question, why do you think it's so important to invite people to your group?
Sure. So let me give you just a little bit of background about us first and our group. Really, it started about 3 years ago, and we had never led a group. We were scared. We had doubts. We weren't experienced. I'm not a theologian, nor is Megan, but we just stepped out in faith, and in doing that, the Lord has blessed us just immensely. I mean, it's truly amazing what He has built and allowed us to be a part of. There's a community that's being built that these are our life friends. We're doing life together. We're battling through difficulties. There for prayer for each other, for support, for meal trains. It's just literally amazing and humbling to be a part of. So that's kind of the group that the Lord's built. Allowing us to be a part of it over the last 3 years. So we feel that. Because He's blessed us with that group, well, we need to use that fruit and spread it and invite others in. And it's kind of like the parable of the talents. We feel like this group has so much to offer that we can't just bury it in the sand. We need to invite people in and let them be a part of it. So that's kind of the background for our group and our ministry at the Global behind it. So.
That's awesome. Awesome. Now, have you, through that, been able to see fruit come out of that by inviting people into your home for group?
Yeah, definitely. Just the fact that the community is so strong. Our kids are growing up together. Everybody's there for supporting one another in the event that there's somebody has an issue or needs prayer, or sick, or whatever it might be. It's everybody's there for each other. It's very, very awesome.
I hear this question often of just, even how do you have that confidence? How do you have that confidence just go out and invite people?
I think it's kind of just having faith. And we've invited people in different ways. First of all, in our neighborhood, people know we have a group, right? So they see all these cars, so they think we're doing something. So we've invited all of our neighbors to come over. We've just hosted a gathering. It wasn't really a small group gathering. It was just a gathering of friends, and we're just putting different friend circles together, and that's really, given us the ability to reach out to, multiple different groups of individuals. Or we have, people at Lighthouse that we're trying to reach out to. We have people in our neighborhood that we're trying to reach out to, and then, recently we just started reaching out to anybody that, we felt led to reach out to, and, it's been stepping out in faith and really trusting in the Spirit to lead us in that. And it can create some awkward conversations,
Chris is really good at this. Me, not so much.
But, especially in today's climate, we really wanted to have a diverse group, and just crazy how the Lord has introduced us to people that we've been able to invite into our home, and just the depth that they've added to our group in just a short time. It's truly amazing.
I have to say, Chris is especially good at the inviting people that he feels the Spirit is leading him to. He's had, most recently, I guess, he was in Home Depot and saw a guy wearing a Jesus bracelet and just struck up a conversation with him and invited him to actually his birthday party. We had a little, party for his 40th birthday. And the guy showed up with his whole family, and now they're a part of our group, our small group, and they come to our Sunday watch parties. And it's just
truly amazing.
It's really cool. It's just awesome.
It's to see what the Lord's doing through that step of faith. Who knows? He could have turned around and run the other way, but no, he struck up a conversation, and now he's like a great friend of ours. And I mean, it's so amazing to see that the Lord, through that simple act of asking that question, he's basically allowed us to be a part of this family. And then that family is indirectly part of a ministry now in Virginia where they're reaching out to father this young men in the community that he grew up in. And we're able to be a part of that to give financially and prayer. And it's amazing to just after asking one question over a little bracelet. I mean, it's crazy.
And I think like a key part of it is taking the pressure off yourself. Like, it's not up to us for their response. It's up to us to just like listen for the prompting of the Holy Spirit and then act on that and just ask the question, like, invite them in and then leave it up to God whether or not they come. And so I think that's been, a huge part of it too. It's just kind of us learning that.
I think that is such an important thing just to be aware of that. I think so many times I can see an opportunity in front of me and let my fears hold me back, but it's like, it's not up to us. It's not up to us whether they say yes or no. We're just called to go out and invite. So I think that's amazing, and I can speak firsthand that you guys have created such a community. They also spoil us every week. Side note, Megan makes dinner every single Thursday and Sunday. That's great.
Chris does breakfast.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Chris. Sorry, Chris.
Can't take all the credit for that.
But they just open up their homes, and they really do just make it a place where we can come together and have community.
Yeah, and to that point, I would say, so something that was really inspirational to me, a couple of years ago, I read a book called The Gospel Comes with a House Key. It's by Rosaria Butterfield, who has an incredible testimony. But that book, if you guys are, looking for inspiration as far as like how to use the resources that God's given you, whether it's whether you're in a one-bedroom apartment, whether you have little or you have a lot, like just using what God has given you and just giving it to Him and letting Him use that to reach people. So I would just recommend that book because that really just changed my perspective on how we take what we're given, what we've been blessed with, and use it to share His love with others. So I just thought I'd throw it out there.
No, that's great. That's great. That's kind of all I had. Do you guys have any other specific examples or anything else you guys want to share?
Sure. Something recently that's been on my heart is, Lighthouse is unique in respect that we have these small groups and it's a tight community. It's such a big church. Well, there are people that are out there that aren't part of that community that are believers, right? So, I don't know what I'm gonna call it, whether it's like, do you know Jesus or whatever, but like if I see somebody wearing a cross, I'm like, oh, you know Jesus? Some people look at me like I'm nuts, but it just starts a conversation, and who knows what that could lead to, but whether it's more people coming to our group or just having a commonality with somebody that you see at the grocery store on a routine basis or at Walgreens or whatever. But I think just if you see somebody wearing a Ravens hat and you're like, oh, go Ravens, if you see somebody wearing a cross, you should acknowledge it, right? Because we're all God's family, right? So that's kind of what
And just thinking about that, you guys, now a few of the couples in the group have started going to Lighthouse through COVID, right? Have they ever been in Lighthouse?
No, two of them haven't actually. One couple, so we live real close to a military, near the Naval Academy, and a couple walked by once, and I started talking to him. He's got a golf logo on his shirt, and they ended up looking at the back of Megan's car and seeing the Lighthouse sticker, and they go, oh, we've heard about the Lighthouse, and the Lighthouse Church. Anyway, they started coming to our small group as well, and they haven't been to Lighthouse, and nor is David and his family.
Home Depot.
Yeah.
His family have not been to, so it's pretty awesome, but now they come to the watch parties on Sunday, and so that's really cool. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, well, that's all I had, but I mean, that is such a blessing and so encouraging. You guys really do inspire me, not just saying that because I'm up here, but the way you guys invite people really is inspiring. So, all right, well, thank you guys. We're actually now going to have Dave come up with another group leader and talk through multiplying.
there we go. Chris, Megan, thank you guys so much for coming out and sharing. I really, as you said, I hope that was beneficial to you, and we'll keep talking about that subject. But this is Ryan. I don't know if you guys know Ryan, but Ryan is our student director here at Lighthouse. Hi, Ryan.
What's up, Dave?
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm like out of breath just walking from there to here. That I feel like is a problem. But that's not a problem for this group. So,
Deep breaths.
as Chris and Megan were talking about inviting, and Adrian kind of teed up for you, really what we're hoping to do is, it's one thing for somebody to get up here and just go, okay, here's 3 points on what you should do to invite, and there's benefit to that. But I think what there's more benefit to is hearing people that are actually doing it share about it. And so, while they talked about inviting, I've invited Ryan here to talk about this idea of multiplying. That we get questions on the side of, okay, how do I continue to grow my group? How do I continue to make an impact with my group? But then also, we've asked over and over again, hey, who do you see that has potential? How can we continue to multiply the number of groups we have available so that more and more people can come to find the community that we're trying to invite them into? And so Ryan has done an excellent job of that over the years with small groups and with students. And so just wanted to ask him a couple questions about it so you guys can glean from his personal experience of doing it well. So I have these trusty notes written down. I'm supposed to know. They're too sloppy and small for me to be able to read, so I'm just going to wing it. Why do you think it's important to multiply, you personally?
Yeah, so I think it's so important. I'm going to speak from students for 1 second, because that's really where God has me now. But students really break my heart, and as believers, people should break our heart, right? This dying world should break our heart. And so, I know for me, I can only impact up to 5 people with depth. But if I pour into 5 people, and then they pour into 5 people, well, then we're multiplying to really run harder after what breaks our heart. Because I really feel like in the kingdom, we're called to build endurance. And the way to do that is you multiply yourselves. And it's not really multiplying number of people, but it's multiplying the heart. And so I feel like when you multiply the heart after Jesus, you are then able to make internal implications and generational impact. And so, when I think about it at the core, it's because our heartbreak should be the lost and dying people in this world.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So, how do you look at trying to identify new people? Like you said, I can only pour into 5 well. What are you looking for when you're looking for those 5?
Okay, I don't know how helpful this is going to be, but I have this generic rule where I look for the loudest person, I look for the quietest person, and then I try to find someone right in the middle. It just is the way I do it. I think Peter, John, and James with Jesus, and he had 3. And so every time I'm in a room or engaging or getting ready for a small group even, I really try to find 3 people, the loudest, the quietest, in the middle of the road. And to be quite honest, I always am loudest person, they're bold, but oftentimes it's pulling out that quiet person and then watching them be the loudest drum because of the beat of their life, So that's my practical go-to is loudest, quietest, middle of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's, we talked some about this before, but I think there's people are drawn to the loud person. Naturally, they tend to be the one that's got the charisma to it, right? But it's usually the quiet one that when they do speak, they've got something to say, and it's usually pretty good. And so finding that person with that little bit of wisdom who's restrained as well.
And I mean, from my first small group I ever led, the quietest person in that group has now become my best friend.
Yeah.
Somebody that I can always point someone to trust and lean on, but also he was he still is the most administratively gifted leader I know. He can organize an outreach, he can put all things together, make sure you have everything on the checkbox, and he really he leads in that quiet place.
Mhm.
But it really like is crazy how when you pull out that quiet person,
Yeah.
how much leadership is in.
And you make an important, I think, distinction there too. Like we talk about multiplying, and the core idea there is, hey, we're looking for new people to lead, like start their own group and be the same kind of group leader we are. But that's not the only thing we're trying to multiply. We're not just trying to multiply charismatic group leaders. We're trying to multiply the kingdom. And so we're looking for those, you found this guy who's got this administrative mindset. He may not be I'm going to sit in front of the group and lead the discussion guy, but he's still helping lead the kingdom forward with his administrative giftings. And so could you speak to that, some like finding not just the upfront leader, but helping to discover people and in whatever role they might play and how they can take their next step?
Yeah, I think it goes right with what the Martins were saying, Megan and Chris, with the idea of inviting. I think multiplying has to start with an invite. And so something that I think you have to do when you're thinking of pulling that gift set out is invite them to a place where you can get relational with them. One thing that I really found helpful in my first small group, I led a co-ed group, and so my co-leader took the females and I took the males, and I invited each of them to I Love Chipotle. So I always like took them out, like I would invite them to like lunch or dinner and just invite them to talk to them. And then just really ask, hey, my go-to question is, what breaks your heart? And so oftentimes, like when you peel back the layers, of where they're at, the leadership and the heart of Jesus starts to come out. In COVID, I'll tell you, as much as I hate Zoom and Google Meet, to be honest, it is so fruitful. It's allowed me to just, because I think right now we've got to speak to the virtual side, like it's allowed me to like, people that would not even normally meet you in person, you're able to actually reach them through a screen. And so it's like just being intentional with reaching out, hey, like, this person definitely has traits like that exemplify Jesus. However, they like haven't really been active in like what we're doing. Let me reach out to them via FaceTime, via Zoom, via Google Meet. And so I really think it goes back to what you guys are saying. You have to be willing to invite to them.
Yeah. So it's a little like, all right, so you've kind of seen some people, you found the loud one, you found the quiet one, the middle one, and you've started to work with them, kind of unpack some things. What are the opportunities you start to provide them to step into the next step or whatever it is, whether that's leadership or just the next step of their disciple journey?
Yeah. So very practically with small groups is working with them first to invite them into a planning meeting to like plan for small group, to pray for small group, to pray over people, and just talk to them. And then one thing I first do, I'll hand them the responsibility of, hey, you pray over these people. Say that we get 5 prayer requests that are spoken in the group. I'm like, hey, can you pray over these 5 people through this week, and then check them?
Yeah.
Okay. Or I'll be like, hey, you already have relational equity within the group. Could you then lead the group? Then our outreach opportunity. I think outreach opportunity every single semester is such an opportunity to gain leaders, because I always see 3 leader opportunities there. One that can reach out to our partner and be like our group liaison. 2, like person that can do all the administrative stuff. And then 3, the person that day I'm just locking arms with and they're actually leaving. And so it's those little bits throughout the group, like throughout the group life, that you really see that opportunity and use those people.
Yeah. Yeah, and that last one you mentioned with the outreach, I mean, that used to be, once a semester, we asked you, hey, just lead an outreach project. And it was kind of like, you figure everything out about it and make it happen all on your own. That's changed now. Now that we have Love Weekend happening the first Saturday of every month, there's almost pre-built opportunities, or at least a goal to look for. This first Saturday every month, you can either join into a project that's already going on, you can create your own project and just plan for it to happen on that day. You've got monthly opportunities to be able to invite new people into their next step. Like you said, you got 3 slots per month that you could invite people into and let them stretch their legs and grow. So definitely, the next one is coming up November 7th. Definitely keep an eye out for that and how you can get plugged into that. And through it, it's a great opportunity to invite people in and invite people into leadership as well. So, did you have something else on that?
Yeah, so for me, as I was thinking about this, as I was telling you right before this, one thing I don't think is ever talked about as much is how hard it is to multiply. Like, I feel like people lose heart in multiplying very often. And like, I was thinking, I'm a big Bob Goff fan. Just have to recommend this book, Everybody Always. So good. There are like three things I thought about is like, as he like would like talk about in some ways, but I talked to him on the phone once, and he was like, Ryan, like, mine died. He was like, one thing I realized is that I was trying to lead people closer to me and not closer to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that really struck me because if we lead people closer to us, we'll have them drop on their face, because we'll fail them. But we lead them closer to Jesus, he's the only one that can ignite that flame, And so like I was thinking like when you're thinking about multiplying in that person, like that you want to disciple, like drop your expectations of them. Because like I know for me, like I have a one-track mind, I'm black and white, there's very little gray. And so like sometimes I'm like, no, this should be done, this should be done, this should be done. And so I'll get really frustrated sometimes like at things, and I realize, wait a second, I just want them to lead like me, in that moment, when really I need to point them to lead like Jesus. And then like extending grace, like grace upon grace upon grace, like when it comes to like multiplying leaders, because you're breaking new soil, like you're potentially, and it's out of their comfort zone. And then like, it's your job, as Craig Rochelle always says, it's not that our people won't, it's that we haven't let them to. And so you really have to lead them to life, and just really like walk them the way instead of just trying to point the way and hope that they go your way. You know what I mean? Because I think that there's a barrier where you can get so caught up in they're not leading like you that you really forget to step back and like, wait a second, let their leadership come to life. And as long as they're pointing people to Jesus and they're drawing closer to Jesus, like that's what we need to life.
That's great. Do you have any specific examples you can share? I know you talked about your best friend. Anything specific you can share where you've walked this process out and seen the fruit of it?
Yeah. Actually, right now, there's a guy so this is a student's kind of thing, there's a guy that he's leading our entire outreach initiative for LH students. Like I like met him through Katie Warner, our outreach director, kind of just started talking to him, talking about our heart for students, and now he's organizing monthly outreaches for students, and he's doing that, and that's awesome. And then I was in a small group, and there's a guy by the name, you guys might know him, Austin McCarron, and he just was so bold in that small group where he spoke up about really what was on his heart, and come to find out, he was like at a crisis in his life trying to make a huge decision. And so I was like, hey, like let's talk, and come to find out that several years prior, he went through a tragedy in life, and he had really felt the call to ministry, and he really allowed like financial security to kind of push that away. And so he and I got to really talk and really think through things and pray through things and read scripture together. And now my man is working in ministry, in his master's in theology, and he is leading students like no other. So it's like just watching that, it has been so beautiful to see it come to fruition. So those would be the two I would really think back to.
Awesome. There's one last question I want to ask you, and then we'll kind of end on this. But really, a lot of what we're talking about here is calling people deeper into their walk with Jesus, right? So, I guess my question is, in your view, in terms of multiplying, what is it we're calling these people to?
I mean, the easy answer would be we're calling them to a deep relationship with Jesus. But I think that like we're, to house values. As LH group leaders, I think that that's not talked about enough. Like, we belong to this family. And so for me, when I'm leading a Lighthouse Church group, and I'm leading LH students, like, I'm calling them to the house values because I know our house values point people to Jesus. So I know that Jesus is our message, people are our passion, growth is our goal, and contributing is our privilege. And so what I'm calling them to is how do they use their gifts for our local body to impact the world. And so when you think about that, so I'm calling them to, hey, all right, you're coming to my group, you're coming to students, whatever you're doing, now how can I use you? So can you go into the movement team? You want to participate in the local outreach? You want to participate in the global outreach, you know? Are you in a small group? So we're really trying to call them deeper, but then also calling them home.
That's good. That's good, because I think sometimes it feels like, specifically in LH groups, that we're just saying, hey, just call people to lead a group. And that's good. Leading a group's good. I would hope everybody in this room would be like, yeah, leading a group's good. If not, I don't really know why you're here. But leading a group's good, but really that's not what we're calling them to. What we're calling them to is a life of being with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, doing what Jesus does. That idea and that living the message of Jesus, being passionate about people, caring about personal growth and other people's growth, and counting it a privilege to contribute. That's what we're calling them to. And then the outworking of that call is, I'm going to lead a group. The outworking of, I value the message of Jesus. People, I'm passionate about people. Growing is important to me. Contributing is truly a privilege. I'm going to lead an LH group. You know what else? The outworking of that might not be leading an LH group. And can I be honest with you? I'm totally fine with that. That's fine as long as they find what their true outpouring of that is. That it might be, I'm going to go work with students, or it might be, I'm going to get involved in production, or it might be, I'm going to go serve the homeless. It might be any of those things, but we're calling them to the core values, and then we're asking them to pour that out in whatever way God has gifted them, equipped them. So that's why we say, hey, invite people to Growth Track, point them to Growth Track, because Growth Track helps them see, this is how I'm gifted, this is how I'm wired, this is what it is, this is what the values are. Now, where do you fit in the kingdom? Go serve in the kingdom. Get into that. Maybe it's a group, maybe it's not. I don't care as long as they find what it really is, right? So
yeah, because honestly, like, it's way easier to multiply frustration than it is to multiply love. Yeah. You know, and I think we've seen that over the last 6 months, and it's been a conviction of mine in my heart. Like, am I really, am I running home? I'm finding refuge in Jesus, but then am I running home to my place to really get questions answered, or am I just gonna run and get frustrated and multiply that frustration? Because the first people that see your frustration are your group members, and like that, I never knew that was true, but like they're like usually the inside of a group, like they are the first person that can see if something's wrong, and so like call them to the core values, but also call them to multiply.
Yeah. Amen. Well, Ryan, hey, I appreciate you coming up and doing this. I'm sure everybody else would join me in that. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate it. Hey, I just want to end with a quick thought, and then Adrian's going to come up and give some announcements for you. But I think if I'm trying to summarize what we're talking about here today, I think it comes down to what we see scripturally as a rhythm of what Jesus did anyways. That you can look at John 1, and you can see that Jesus comes on the scene and he starts calling his first disciples. And I've always loved the way John 1 shows the way Jesus calls his disciples. Is that he's coming along and he sees Andrew, or he's talking to John the Baptist, and Andrew sees him and talks to him. And Jesus says, why don't you come and see? Right? And then Andrew goes and finds his brother Peter, and he says, look, I found this guy. I think he's special. Why don't you come and see? And then Andrew and Peter find Nathaniel and Philip, and they say, hey, we found something incredible. Why don't you come and see? And that there's this real constant call. I think it's very in line with what Chris and Megan were talking about, that it's just this, why don't you come and see? Just come and see what Jesus is doing. It's not up to you for them to see it clearly, but it is up to you to call them to come and see what's going on. And one of the ways that that happens is not just, okay, sit down and look into a Bible study, although obviously that's great, but often the way it's seen so clearly, the way it was seen so clearly there, was that they saw him at work relationally. They didn't see him at work theologically first, they saw him at work relationally. And so calling people into, hey, we're just having a gathering for the sake of having a gathering, we're just inviting people over. Because you know what happens in that? Is that every person in that gathering gets to use their gifts a little bit. Because there's some people that are great at inviting people in. There's some people that are great at being hospitable and creating a welcoming, open environment. And there's some people that are great at sharing the gospel. And there's some great people that are great at closing the deal, right? And when you bring all of that together and then you invite people to come and see, they see it all at work, the way we love one another, the way we care for one another, the way we share the gospel in different ways through love and through words and through action. And they see all of it at work and then they want more of it. Right? And so we're calling them not just to a Bible study. We're not just saying, come and see what we do in Bible study. We're saying, come and see what community is like. Come and see what Jesus is like when a body of believers works together. Right? But there's another part of this rhythm that's equally important. Yes, come and see is great. But there's also a go and do. There's also a go and be who you were called to be. Right? So we're constantly calling people, hey, come and see. But then we're also telling people you've got to go and do what the Great Commission says, which is make more disciples, which is invite more people in. We've got to invite them in to be a part of the community, help them discover their gifts, and then point them back out to the mission. Because here's the two kind of ends of the spectrum when it comes to groups. It's either super duper relational and communal, and it just becomes all about this community, and that's what we just want to keep everybody together. And relationships are great, and I love that. But we've also got to be sending people out to fulfill their mission, fulfill their call, live their life, and what God has empowered them to do. Then there's the other one that's just all about, it's all about the lesson, it's all about teaching, it's all about da-da-da-da-da, whatever, and the do. And those people we need to call, hey, you need to come and see and rest and sit and be a part of the relationship in the community. We've got to find that happy medium, that balance on the spectrum. And that's what I'm hoping we can start to convey here this morning and continue to work out in the last parts of the semester and the semesters to come. But it's a come and see, and it's a go and tell. And so my hope is that this is helpful to you, that we'll be able to start working this out. I just want to tell you, actually I won't tell you, Adrian's going to tell you in a minute. I don't want to steal her thunder. But I really do appreciate you guys coming out. I appreciate those that are watching online. We're going to keep doing these. We'll have another one in November, third Saturday of November. And so we're going to keep trying to just grow together. We love you guys. We appreciate what you're doing. We want to come alongside you. Your coach wants to help you. If you need anything at all, even the simplest of prayer requests, please reach out. As you're trying to lead your community, we're trying to lead you all as a community as well. We consider you all one big small group, and each coach kind of considers their little group of leaders, their own little small group. And so we want to take care of you all in the same way that you're trying to take care of your people. So with that said, I'll have Adrian come up here, give you a few announcements, and she'll pray us out. Cool? Cool.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. That's awesome. So just a few announcements. Dave touched on some of them. The first one, the Next Love weekend, will be November 7th. So make sure you guys get signed up. Pass that out to your group members as well. There's online opportunities as well as in-person opportunities. So make sure you get to be a part of that. Next is Growth Track. Dave talked about that as well, but we really want to make sure if you guys yourselves haven't been a part of it, definitely sign up, get your members plugged in. It's a place where you can learn your gifts, your talents, and how they can be used in the church. So that's offered every single month. It's a 4-week class, and more information about that is online. So make sure you do that. And next, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Dave is doing a Testify podcast that is amazing. So his first episode was just this past week. He interviewed J.P. Hines, talked about his story. The whole idea about it is really just that Jesus changes everything. So if you haven't check it out, pass it around to your group. You can find it now on the LH Group Leaders Facebook page and our YouTube page. And then lastly, I think this is what you were gonna steal my thunder about. But what we've talked about today, we don't want it to just be that you came and heard this and then leave and we're done. We will be reaching out with you guys. The whole idea today kind of is being intentional, making sure that you are inviting, that you're finding new leaders, helping people take their next steps. So in the weeks to come, Dave and I will be reaching out with more information about that, and just to see what kind of progress you guys have had. So that's everything. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for watching online. And I will pray us out. If you guys have any questions or need anything, Dave and I will be around. So let's pray. Thank you, God, so much for this time that we've got to spend together, Lord. I know that it has blessed me, encouraged me, challenged me. I thank you for everyone in this room, Lord. I pray that we will just have an amazing Saturday, that we can just focus on you and your goodness and your blessings that you've given us in our lives, and just help us to draw close to you in every area of our lives, so that we can become more like you and people see your light in us. In Jesus' name, amen.